Welcome back to Sissy Maya. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to never miss an update. Additionally, consider subscribing to my Patreon to get access to these features, and much more. My mom transformed me into a girl. Actually, it was her new friend, Julia, who orchestrated it, but my mom went along with it, so she gets the blame. Looking back, I realize how clever both of them were. I didn't see it coming, and by the time I did, it was already too late. This all began when I was 9, and by the time I turned 10, their plan was nearly complete. I know 3 facts and have one opinion about what happened to me. Fact 1. My parents split when I was about 5 or 6, but it didn't really affect me. My mom and I got along well, and I visited my dad on weekends when he wasn't working. Even though I didn't see him often, it wasn't a significant problem, and my parents managed to cooperate when it came to me. It's important to note that I was a well-behaved boy who always followed the rules. That's fact 2. Fact 3. My life changed when Julia entered the picture. Actually, it was Julia and her daughter, Lily, who came into our lives as a duo, an empowered duo, as Julia liked to call it. Initially, it was a lot of fun having Julia around. She was a vibrant person, always coming up with new activities and places to explore. We had more outings than ever before. I even enjoyed Lily's presence. It felt like having a new sister. She was my age, and we got along well, rarely fighting. We created a rule to play games that both boys and girls could enjoy without feeling awkward. I left my soldiers and what Julia termed my violent video games aside, and Lily didn't bring her dolls. The only downside was that I couldn't play with my friend Josh when Lily was visiting. "Oliver can't play today, dear," I heard my mom tell Josh at the front door. "We have visitors for the weekend. You'll see him at school on Monday. Why can't Josh join us?" I asked when my mom came inside. "It wouldn't be fair to Lily," she replied. I never argued with my mom, not because she was strict, but simply because I didn't. I did sulk if I was upset, though, and that day, I certainly did when Josh was turned away. To make my point, I told Lily I wasn't in the mood to play and sulked upstairs to my room. I wouldn't dare storm up the stairs, which is how I overheard the following conversation. "You see, Judy," Julia said. "He's just like any 9-year-old. He wants things his way and gets upset when he doesn't get them," my mom responded. "Yes, they all start like that, and look what happens. Take my advice and act while you can." "Oh, I think you're overreacting. He's fine." Judy, I hope you're right, but if you would just listen to me." That was all I heard as Julia walked toward the kitchen and out of earshot. Something about Julia's tone unsettled me. It worried me that she was discussing me and seemed to have a strong opinion about something I did or didn't do. As for my opinion, well, you'll have to wait for that. Despite that conversation making me uneasy, Julia never gave me a reason to fear her. She was always friendly. After about 20 minutes, she came upstairs to check on me. I was playing on my PlayStation and suddenly felt self-conscious about the game when she walked into my room. I figured it was too violent for her. "Hey, Ollie." Feeling a bit lonely, she asked in her cheerful, upbeat tone that I usually liked. "Not really, I just wanted Josh to come over," I replied, feeling a bit pathetic in comparison to her lively personality. "Oh, poor thing. Lily's feeling sad too. She came here to play with you and doesn't understand why you're ignoring her." "I'm not ignoring her. But you're not playing with her. Instead, you're practicing your killing, right?" There was a slight edge to her voice when she said that, but her smile remained. "I'm just getting ready to come down," I said as I shut off my game. "Great." Julia stood there smiling, but I could see in her eyes that she had strong opinions about me, and I wasn't sure I wanted to hear them. When I got downstairs, Lily was practicing ballet moves. I slumped on the couch, waiting for her to finish. She was really good. My mom watched her with wide-eyed admiration. "I had no idea you were so talented," she said. "I don't get to practice much when I'm here," Lily replied. "Mom said it wouldn't be fair to Ollie." "Come on, Ollie won't mind," Will you, Ollie? I was at a loss for words. I didn't mind Lily doing her ballet moves, but I had come downstairs to play. Julia had made me feel like Lily was waiting for me. Join in, Ollie, Julia encouraged. No, I replied a bit too quickly, sounding almost defiant. It wasn't defiance, though, it was more about feeling embarrassed. Ollie. I had spoken sharply, and my mom looked taken aback, as if she were seeing something new in me for the first time. All right, but I'm not sure what to do, I said as I stood up from the sofa. First, take off your slippers, then just follow my lead, Lily instructed. So, I did. It wasn't as easy as Lily made it look, but I improved, and it turned out to be fun. You're really good, Julia said. You should take ballet lessons. Lily can take you. Oh, come on, Ollie, Lily chimed in. No, thanks, I replied. I couldn't bear the thought of being laughed at. I didn't mind pretending with Lily at home, but I didn't want anyone else to find out, even if it was enjoyable. At one point, I tried to keep my left leg up as long as Lily did. She had hers high, but I struggled. I laughed as I fought for balance, and soon, everyone was laughing with me. When I finally collapsed on the floor, it felt like the funniest moment ever. That led to other things, and soon we were trying out jumps. I attempted a twirl but couldn't get it right at all. We were having such a great time that I didn't even notice my mom leaving the room until I heard her on the phone. Hello, Josh. It's Ollie's mom. Mom? Since when had she started calling herself that? I always called her mom. Would you like to come over and play? Lily and Ollie are practicing ballet. I'm sure they wouldn't mind if you joined them. No. Okay, then. I heard the phone disconnect, and my mom walked back in. Ollie, I called Josh, but he's busy. He'll see you at school on Monday. Why did you call him? Well, I thought you all could play together since you and Lily are getting along so well. Yes, but why mention that I was doing ballet? I asked, trying to keep my voice down despite wanting to scream. It would spread throughout the school in no time. You are doing ballet, Ollie, Julia said. Did you expect your mom to lie? Mummy again. Josh didn't need to know, I insisted. Is there something wrong with ballet, Ollie? Julia asked. No, but didn't you have fun? I hesitated to answer, so Julia repeated the question. Yes, I did, but then I'm confused, aren't you, Judy? Julia glanced at my mom in a told-you-so manner. It's just that boys don't really do ballet, I said weakly. But you're a boy, and you were doing it, Julia replied. Everything she said made sense, but I felt trapped, as if she were outsmarting me. It's just that Josh will tell everyone at school, and they'll laugh and, I glanced around, realizing I wasn't convincing anyone. I thought Josh was your friend, Julia said. He is. Your best friend? Yes. Then why would he want to make fun of you? If he does, he isn't much of a friend. She was too clever for me. When Julia and Lily left that evening, I could tell my mom was upset with me. She didn't say anything, but I could sense her disappointment. While we were watching TV, she shot me strange glances from the corner of her eye, thinking I wasn't looking. There was none of the usual fun in watching a program together, sharing laughs or comments. When she finally spoke to me, her tone carried an edge she seemed to have picked up from Julia, and she wasn't smiling. I'm disappointed in how you behaved today. You were so ungrateful. I'm sorry, I mumbled, my gaze fixed on the carpet, not wanting her to see the tears welling in my eyes. I hated it when she was upset with me, she rarely was, and it always broke my heart when she was. Julia and Lily come over and spend time with us. The least you could do is make them feel welcome. I do. You didn't today. All that fuss about ballet. I participated in the ballet. I just didn't want Josh to know. What don't you want Josh to know? That you were having fun. That Lily is a good friend. I remained silent, unable to convey to my mom how terrible school would be if everyone found out. Well, I expect you to behave better tomorrow, she continued. Lily and Julia are coming back, And I want you to tell Lily yourself that you want to practice ballet. It would really help her feel better about today. It's the least you can do. Understand? Yes, Mom, I said weakly. Say it correctly. Yes, Mummy, she corrected me. Mummy again. She never expected me to call her that. Yes, Mummy, I repeated. The next day, as soon as Lily walked through the door, I did as instructed. I told you he enjoyed it, Lily, Julia laughed. Poor Lily thought she upset you by getting him to join in. My mom glanced at me. She didn't make me. I wanted to try it, I explained. I really liked it. Why don't you two run off and play? Julia suggested, so Judy and I can have a little chat and make some plans. With that, she guided my mom to the kitchen while Lily led me upstairs. Oh Ollie, I'm so happy you want to dance. We can practice together and be partners, Lily gushed as we entered my room. Why don't you join my dance class? I don't think I'm good enough yet, I hesitated. You're amazing, she insisted. I didn't want another falling out with my mom, and I was relieved that Julia wasn't around to overhear, or I was sure she would rope me into something else I didn't want to do. Here's the deal, I said. When I'm good enough, I'll join, but let's keep it a secret so we can surprise our moms. Oh Ollie, that's a fantastic idea, Lily exclaimed. Then she pulled out 2 black leotards from her bag and handed one to me. Mom said you could have my spare leotard, so I brought it along. This is for me? I asked, staring at the leotard dangling in her hand. It's better to wear these. We can move more easily, she explained. Don't boys wear tights and a t-shirt? I questioned. When you start classes, I'm sure your mom will buy you the right stuff, she replied. I hesitated, holding the leotard, unsure of what to do next. Lily stripped down to her underwear and slipped on her leotard without a hint of embarrassment. I was frozen in confusion, not only because she had changed in front of me but also because it was clear I was expected to wear the girl's leotard she had lent me. Not wanting another argument with my mom, I slowly began to undo my trousers. I pulled the leotard up over my left shoulder, but it was too tight. I worried I would rip it, so, feeling a wave of relief, I took it off. Oh Ollie, I'm so sorry, she said, looking disappointed. It's my old one, and I've grown a bit since then. It's okay, I replied, trying to sound understanding. At least I had attempted it, and my mom couldn't blame me for the leotard being too small. However, Lily rushed downstairs with the disappointing news. I got dressed again, but before I could put my sweatshirt back on, my mom and Julia entered my room. Oh Ollie, I'm sorry. I thought it might be a little small, Julia said. It's fine, I assured her. I brought another one, just in case. Try this, Julia said, her tone carrying a hint of authority as she pulled a brand new leotard from her plastic shopping bag. I stared at it, realizing I was backed into a corner again. Reluctantly, I dropped my trousers once more and stepped into the new leotard. It fit perfectly. I had a feeling it would. Is it okay? Julia asked. Yes, it fits, I confirmed. Come here, she said, snipping off the price tag. We wanted to be sure in case it had to be returned, but since it fits so well, she stepped back to admire me standing in front of them in the leotard, feeling quite silly. Come on, Ollie, let's dance, Lily exclaimed, taking my hand and leading me away, just before I heard my mom tell Julia, I'll settle up with you before you leave. To be honest, I forgot about feeling silly in the leotard while we danced. Lily was a blast to be with, even though I didn't usually play with girls. She shared her mother's infectious laugh and had a knack for getting her way. We were giggling like girls, in no time. When we took a break for lunch, we didn't bother changing. It was only when my mom and Julia set up the table in the garden that I became self-conscious about wearing the girl's leotard. I didn't want the neighbors to see me, and I was already worried about what Josh would say at school on Monday. I'll eat in the kitchen, I announced, even though I knew it was futile. You'll eat with us, my mom retorted. I tried to slide onto the patio to avoid drawing attention to myself. Once seated, I felt better. From a distance, it probably looked like I was wearing a low-neck t-shirt, which was acceptable. Mr. Carter, our next-door neighbor, was in his garden. I had known him forever and often went to his house with food my mom had cooked for him. He was an old soldier, and I loved hearing his stories about places he had visited and things he had seen. He was the reason I wanted to be a soldier when I grew up. He even called me soldier. It was a little joke between us. At first, he didn't notice us, but my mom called out to him, asking if he wanted any of her carrot cake. He loved my mom's cooking, and since he lived alone, she liked to bake for him. Ollie, take some cake over to Mr. Carter, my mom instructed. Lily's closer, I replied, instantly regretting it when I saw the look she shot me, which got me out of my chair faster than I thought possible. Can I change first? I asked. Don't be silly, he's just over there, Mom replied. I had no choice but to walk across the garden in full view of Mr. Carter while wearing the leotard. I felt acutely aware of how long my legs looked and how little I had on. Hello, soldier. Playing dress up? Mr. Carter asked, his disapproval barely masked in his voice. We're doing ballet, Lily chimed in cheerfully. I hadn't realized she had arrived behind me. Ballet, huh? I didn't know you took ballet, soldier. I don't, I started to explain, but Lily interrupted. He's really good. My mom says he's as graceful as a girl. I stared at her, surprised that Julia had said that. We're becoming the terrible twins, that's what my mom calls us, Lily continued. I flushed with embarrassment. I hated that she was sharing this with the man who told me fascinating stories about his time in the army. We should probably go, I suggested, trying to escape the fence. It was mortifying that Mr. Carter had seen me dressed like this, and I wanted to get away as quickly as possible. It was all too embarrassing. For a moment, I even considered asking if I could join a ballet class, at least then I could wear what boys typically wore. But I pushed that thought aside. Goodbye, young lady, and goodbye, Oliver. Thank your mother for the cake for me, Mr. Carter said. Lily skipped away, and I walked back across the lawn, trying hard not to dwell on the fact that Mr. Carter had called me Oliver instead of soldier. I wore the leotard all day. I tried to change back several times that afternoon, but each time, Lily insisted we keep them on in case we wanted to do more ballet. I didn't want to, but I also didn't want to upset Lily or her mom. I knew my mom was watching me and listening to what I said. I didn't want to give her any reason to be upset with me again. At one point, feeling fed up with trying to pull the leotard down to stop it from riding up, I said, I wish I had tights on. We should get you some, Lily suggested. I can't see my mom buying me tights, I replied, which was true, I couldn't. The biggest shock came at the end of the day when Julia and Lily were leaving. My mom called me down to say goodbye. I'll give you back the leotard, I said, wanting to return it. Don't be silly, dear, Julia said. That's yours to keep. Your mom paid for it. See you next weekend. She kissed me on the cheek as they left. I was stunned. I had my own leotard. What was I going to do with it? Would I have to wear it again? I decided I had to ask my mom, even though I knew it might lead to an argument. Why do I have a leotard? What a silly question. If you want to do ballet, you need to wear a leotard. But don't boys wear tights and t-shirts instead? Yes, I think the boys do, she replied as she headed off to do the dishes. Why did she say the boys like that? And why did I need a leotard? The answer to that second question came on Monday at school. Josh, being a good friend, didn't mention anything about my ballet dancing, but he seemed a bit distant when I approached him on the way to school. Hi, he said without stopping. Hi. Did you have fun with your girlfriend? She's not my girlfriend, Josh. Her mom is friends with my mom, that's all. And you've started ballet? He asked. No. I just joined in for fun, kind of making fun of it. That seemed to satisfy him, and he didn't bring it up again. He didn't have to. When it was time for PE, I grabbed my bag to get my kit, but it wasn't there. Instead, My leotard was waiting for me. I swallowed hard. Maybe the best thing to do would be to pretend I'd forgotten my kit. That seemed like the safest plan. Just then, Mrs. Parker, our teacher, declared loudly, "And if anyone has forgotten their PE kit, it means a letter home because I'm tired of excuses." That plan was out the window. My mom would explode if she found out, especially since she had swapped my usual kit for the leotard. I decided to tell Miss the truth. "What you're telling me, Oliver, is that you have a leotard to wear for PE today?" she asked after I explained. "Yes, miss." "Fine. We're doing gymnastics." "It will be perfect," she replied. "But miss, everyone will laugh at me," I protested weakly. She sighed deeply. I took this as a sign of sympathy, so I was surprised when she stopped the entire class to get their attention. "Listen up, everyone. Oliver has a leotard to wear today, and he thinks you'll all laugh at him. Does anyone find that funny?" She scanned the room, where my friends were shaking their heads, indicating that nobody would dare find it amusing with Miss Parker watching. I was taken aback by her bluntness. "There you go, Oliver. No one's going to laugh. You can change now." That wasn't what I had envisioned, but I was getting used to being outsmarted. "By the way, Oliver, does this leotard belong to you, or did you borrow it?" A hush fell over the room as the usual noise of children changing faded, and everyone listened for my answer. "It's mine, miss," I mumbled. "Have you taken up ballet?" she asked, her voice unnecessarily loud. "Sort of, miss," I whispered, glancing over at Josh. "Good," she said briskly before moving on. Josh shot a glare back at me. The PE lesson felt like a nightmare. 5 of us were in leotards, and of course, I was the only boy. I used to enjoy PE, but that day was dreadful. Most of the time, I spent trying to pull down the back of the leotard to cover myself. It felt like I had no modesty at all, and to make matters worse, I was acutely aware of the slight bulge in front, which, while not large, was noticeable especially next to a girl wearing the same outfit. Many of the other kids noticed too. To be fair, the girls were sweet about it. One girl, Molly, told me she planned to get a leotard too because I looked good in mine. Another, Faye, said I was really brave and offered to give me the name of her ballet teacher so we could take classes together. The boys, however, didn't say a word. They didn't laugh. They wouldn't dare with Miss in the room. But when it was time to go back to class, I couldn't slip into line. The boys formed a tight group that kept me out, leaving me at the back with the girls. Josh, who usually let me slip in next to him, didn't even glance my way. Back in class, we changed in silence. I was relieved that my ordeal was over. It was playtime next, and Mrs. Parker, who was on duty, told those of us still in the room to hurry up. She was heading to the playground. That's when the boys began. At first, it was quiet, but soon I heard it. "Girl, girl," they chanted, and as more kids joined in, it grew louder. I turned crimson, knowing they were targeting me. "Girl, girl, girl," the chant continued. I felt like crying, but I knew that would only make things worse, so I kept my head down and tried to ignore them. That's when I saw Jordan, a kid who always acted tough, snatch the leotard from my bag. "Ah, look. His mommy has sewn his name inside," he taunted. She had, but unfortunately, the label didn't cover the Princess Wear logo, which Jordan found hilarious. He tossed it across the room, where another boy caught it and threw it back. It turned into a game, with the boys tossing the leotard to each other while I chased after it, just as they wanted. I couldn't hold back the tears. I felt powerless, and even though it made me look more like a girl, I cried. Eventually, someone threw the leotard to Josh. He hesitated, holding it while I looked at him through my tears. He kept it long enough for me to realize he wasn't going to join in. Instead, he handed it back to me. "Thanks, Josh," I said, but he was already leaving the classroom without waiting for me. The other boys lost interest and drifted away, but I knew they wouldn't let this go. On the way home that day, without Josh, he had rushed out of school. A girl from my class caught up with me. "I think it's great that you do ballet," she said. I was going to deny it, but I couldn't come up with a better explanation for having a leotard. I felt trapped. It was easier to let people think I did ballet than to admit the truth. My mom had just bought it for a reason I still hadn't figured out. The whole situation felt puzzling. I couldn't grasp what was happening. All I knew was that I had gone from being someone who got along with all the boys to feeling like an outcast in just one lesson. To add to my confusion, I knew that when my mom asked about my day, I wouldn't tell her how awful PE had been. I couldn't pinpoint why, but I knew something was going on, and while Julia was behind it, my mom was heavily involved. I did ask her why I didn't have my PE kit, though. You did. I packed it myself, Mom replied. You packed the leotard, I reminded her. Yes. The school uniform list says leotards can be worn for PE, she responded. But girls wear leotards, Mom. As a matter of fact, you wear a leotard, Ollie, she said. I saw you this weekend, or have you forgotten? That was just for fun, I protested. I was only pretending to be a dancer. Oh, so you were lying to Lily? She thought you were having a good time. I was, but I could see I was getting drawn into an argument I couldn't win. Couldn't I just have my shorts and t-shirt for the next PE lesson? I asked, trying hard to keep desperation out of my voice. No, you can't. That leotard has replaced your old kit, which needed to be thrown out anyway. I'm not made of money, you know. If you had been honest about disliking ballet, you wouldn't be in this mess, she declared. But you were upset with me for hurting Lily's feelings, I shot back defensively. I'm upset with you for lying to her too, she replied. I don't know what's gotten into you lately. It was clear to me that this was the end of the discussion as far as she was concerned, and I was stuck with a leotard. Later that week, the leotard was back in my bag. I had tried to pretend I was sick when I realized there was another PE lesson that day, but it hadn't worked. I didn't really expect it to, but the thought of enduring another humiliation was overwhelming. The lesson felt like a repeat of the earlier one. The worst part was that no matter how I moved, I felt like I looked like a girl. I couldn't move like the boys, and they instinctively moved away from me whenever I got close. To make matters worse, I spent most of the time tugging the leotard down to cover myself better. Nobody laughed or said anything mean while Miss was present, but as soon as we started changing, the boys began chanting again, "Girl, girl." Josh didn't join in, but he hadn't spent any time with me for days and rushed out of school every day to avoid walking home with me. At the same time, girls who had never spoken to me before began treating me like a friend, chatting with me, especially on the way home. I tried to solve the leotard issue by lying to my mom. I had never lied to her before, and as I did, I could feel my face heating up. I thought she would surely see through my deception. We're doing PE outside next week, so I need to take my outdoor kit, I told her. I had a perfectly good kit, so there shouldn't be an issue. What do the girls wear? She asked. I wasn't sure why she wanted to know, but I felt uneasy about it. The same as the boys, tops and shorts, I replied. Or tracksuits. Right, she said, her expression distant. I didn't like it. Some even wear football tops like mine, I added quickly. It was true, Molly did. Some do they? She said. So some don't. That was the end of that, or at least that's what I thought. Lily and Julia returned on Friday night to spend the weekend with us. Lily has a surprise for you, Julia announced shortly after dinner. Lily's face lit up as she rushed to grab something from her bag. Julia and my mom exchanged big smiles, clearly knowing what it was, and I sensed I would be expected to play along. Somehow, I knew I wasn't going to like it, but I wasn't prepared for what Lily was now holding out for me. Tights? I said weakly. Yes, they're yours now. We're the same size, so they'll definitely fit, Lily exclaimed. Mom and Julia beamed at each other, and I was left speechless. I still hadn't taken the tights off Lily, but I could feel the spotlight on me once again. Lily told me you wanted some, Julia continued. I didn't. I protested. I realized I had said it too loudly, and I could see my mom's expression darkening. Surely, she would recognize that this wasn't true. I never said that, I insisted. Lily looked hurt. Sorry, Ollie, when we were dancing, I thought you said you wished you were wearing tights. Did you say that, Ollie? Mom asked. No. I replied. Lily, how could you lie like that? Julia scolded her daughter. Lily looked confused as she turned to me. Well, I hesitated. I did say it, but I didn't mean it that way. Sorry, Ollie, Lily said again. So how did you mean it? Julia asked, her smile still in place, but her tone shifting. Well, I didn't like wearing, I faltered, realizing my mom wouldn't be pleased with whatever I said. I thought tights might cover more of my legs, I finally admitted. And you said you couldn't see your mom buying you any, didn't you? Lily added. Did you say that, Ollie? Mom asked. I had indeed said that. Yes. So I thought you wanted some but were too shy to ask your mom to buy you some, Lily concluded. And she brought you a pair of hers to keep, Julia chimed in. Lily, that's so thoughtful of you. Mom gushed. I'm so glad you didn't lie to me, Julia said. What a shame Ollie can't tell the truth, Mom added. They're not old or ruined or anything, and they'll go so well with your t-shirt, Lily continued, trying to cheer me up. I was wearing my blue and white striped t-shirt, which Mr. Carter had once called like a French sailor. I didn't respond, still clutching the tights. At this point, my mom took charge. Thank you, Lily, you're very sweet. Mom took the tights from her and shot me a stern look. We need to have a little talk, in your room. Once we were there, it was clear I was in big trouble. How could you, she hissed, lowering her voice so the others wouldn't hear. How could you lie? Lily has been so kind, and you've thrown it back in her face. But I don't want to wear tights, Mom, I replied. I'm a boy. Then why did you tell her you did? She demanded. I don't know. I was worried about the leotard and I didn't get a chance to finish my explanation. Take your trousers off, Mom instructed, and I complied without hesitation. And your socks. She took the tights and gathered them, ready to put them on me. She pushed me, and I fell backward onto my bed. When the tights were halfway up my legs, she snapped, stand up, and as I did, she pulled them all the way up and secured them in place. I knew arguing was pointless at this point. Looking down, I saw the legs of a girl in navy blue tights. I tried to convince myself that many boys wore tights for ballet, but I was clearly in girls' tights. The label made that evident. I wondered if my name would be sewn into these as well. Mom pulled my t-shirt back into place. Now get downstairs and show Julia and Lily how grateful you are, she ordered. I slipped back into my slippers and followed her down the stairs, feeling foolish in the tights but relieved that no one else could see me. Julia was making coffee in the kitchen while Lily helped her. As I edged into the room, they both smiled. You look great, Julia said. Don't you think so, Lily? Mom turned to me, expecting a response. They're really comfortable. Thank you, Lily, I said. It wasn't enough for Mom, who continued to glare at me. I've always wanted a pair of tights of my own. It was kind of you to think of me. This seemed to satisfy her, and her expression softened. Coffee, cake, and TV, Julia said cheerfully. We can all celebrate. Ollie has always wanted a pair of tights, and now he has some. If I may say so, you look absolutely wonderful. What do you think, Judy? Mom looked at me, and her smile returned. You look gorgeous, Ollie, she said. We all sat on the sofa together, but I tucked my legs underneath me to avoid looking at them. I could feel the tights constricting my legs. It was a strange sensation, but at least I could keep this private. I was glad that Lily didn't go to my school. I didn't know what I would do if everyone found out about this. I was shocked when Mom said, "Oh, I nearly forgot the pie for Mr. Carter. Ollie, take it over to him, please." I'll go and get dressed, I said. Don't be silly, you're dressed, Julia replied. And you can pop over in your slippers, Mom added. I didn't feel like arguing, and I knew I had been outsmarted again. I grabbed the pie and stepped out the front door in nothing but tights, a t-shirt, and slippers. All I needed was for someone from school to see me, and I was done for. Standing at the front door, I wondered if I could just throw the pie away and pretend I had done the errand. I knew that wouldn't work, but I hated the thought of Mr. Carter seeing me in tights. Luckily, I didn't see anyone in the street, and I shuffled as quickly as I could into Mr. Carter's front garden. I rang the bell and hopped from foot to foot, willing him to hurry to the door. As an older man, it took him a while. I kept glancing up and down the road, but apart from a passing car, there was no one around. Eventually, Mr. Carter opened the door. "Hello, Mr. Carter. I brought a pie my mom made," I said. He didn't invite me in as he usually did. Instead, he looked me up and down. "That's very kind of your mother, Oliver. Please thank her for me," he said in a formal tone I wasn't used to hearing. I wondered if I should tell him that I didn't want to wear the tights, but I didn't know how to bring it up, so I kept quiet, and he didn't ask. In fact, he didn't mention the tights at all, but his expression clearly showed his disapproval. I left quickly and scurried home as fast as I could. When I returned, the three of them were watching television, and Mom and Julia opened their arms to welcome me onto the sofa. This was the part one really enjoyed, and I snuggled up between them, feeling safe and looking forward to doing nothing but watching TV. This was the best, as we all got along, and it felt like having a new family. We hadn't been this close since my dad left. Although my mom and I had always gotten along, it wasn't the same as having other people around who made me feel like family. "We're going shopping tomorrow," Julia announced. "If you'd like, we can pick up a couple more pairs of tights for you. Would you like that, Ollie?" Internally, I groaned, but I replied, "That would be brilliant." I could tell from the way my mom sighed that I had said the right thing. I felt relieved, at least for now. It felt good to have pleased her, something I hadn't done as often lately. I really didn't want to wear tights again. Even though Mom had promised to buy me some in different colors, as we prepared to go out the next day, I hoped she had forgotten about them. The navy blue pair was safely in the laundry basket, so I put on my jeans and a jumper, and Mom didn't make me change. That was a huge relief, and I began to relax again. Maybe it was just one of those things. After all, it had been my fault, sort of. I had told Lily I wanted to wear them, and since I hadn't explained my true feelings, she had acted sweetly. Although I didn't fully understand why Mom seemed pleased for me to wear girls' things, I decided to put that aside. Lily could be a really good friend, I thought. We sat in the back of the car, chatting and singing along to the songs on the CD. Lily was a lot of fun to have around. Being an only child, I didn't interact with many girls, and at school, I didn't have much to do with them at all. It was only in the past week that the girls in my class had spoken to me, and that was to support me after wearing my leotard. As we drove, I reflected on how differently I had been treated by girls compared to boys. Lily at home and the other girls at school had been really nice, while the boys, including my so-called best friend Josh, had given me the cold shoulder. I decided I needed to be more friendly and welcoming to Lily. Maybe Mom was right, and I was being ungrateful. Lily had brought some magazines with her and picked one up to read. "Sorry, Ollie, I've only got girls' magazines," she said. "That's okay," I replied. "I'll read one of yours." And I did. Mom and Julia exchanged glances in the front, and Lily and I settled back to read. I felt great inside, relieved that everyone was getting along and that I wasn't ruining the moment. The day got even better when Julia and Mom decided we didn't need to accompany them. "Lily needs new underwear and a few tops, and we don't need you for that," Julia said. "We'll meet up later." They even gave us money for lunch. The only slight issue was when Mom asked me loudly on the street what color tights I wanted. I hesitated, wishing I could forget about them. I looked around to see if anyone had overheard, but Mom asked again in an even louder voice. I quickly replied, "Can I have a black pair, please?" "Of course you can, love," Mom said. "I'll get you a couple of pairs. Any other colors?" "No, you choose," I said hastily. Mom mentioning tights again rattled me. I had hoped they were forgotten, but I didn't want to ruin the day, especially since we were having so much fun, so I pushed it to the back of my mind. Wanting to spend more time with Lily, we dashed off. Spending time with a girl felt different. We went into stores I had never visited before, clothing shops and places selling accessories, as Lily called them. She was knowledgeable about color and style, which made sense given what I saw in her magazines. We looked at numerous earrings, and she held some up to her ears. I really want to get my ears pierced, she said. Mom says I have to be 10 before I can have it done. What about you, Ollie? Oh, I don't know. Some older boys at school had earrings, but nobody in my class did, and I had never given it much thought. I knew Mr. Carter wouldn't approve. I had heard him dismiss boys with earrings as girls. We also browsed through CDS, and Lily filled me in on who was in and who wasn't. I didn't know much about it, but Lily was well informed. She even told me who was hot and which posters adorned her bedroom wall. Overall, I learned a lot from being with her. She bought a CD of the latest boy band everyone said they were in and hot, and caught up in her excitement, I bought a poster of them too. We debated whether the poster of them all in black was better than the shirtless one, and in the end, I chose the shirtless version. Lily approved of my choice, which felt good. Later, when we reunited with our moms, Lily asked if we could get our ears pierced. When you're 10. I've told you that before, Julia replied, but my mom added, when your hair is a bit longer, Ollie. Lily looked disappointed by her response, but I felt relieved. I didn't want an earring, but Mom had never mentioned me having longer hair before. She usually made me keep it short, like most of the boys in my class. I tried to comfort Lily, saying, it's not long to wait. I'll be 10 in November, and you'll be 10 soon after. I suppose you're right, she admitted. But that means you could get your ears pierced before me. I promise I won't get it done before you, I assured her. I had really come to like Lily and found myself wanting to please her. Great, we can get it done on the same day, she said, her spirits lifting. Okay, I replied, realizing that keeping her happy was more important at that moment. It was only later that I recognized what I had agreed to. Back home that afternoon, Julia laid out all her purchases for us to see. She had new underwear and a few new t-shirts and tops. The underwear was in pastel shades, quite different from what I wore. However, the standout item we all agreed on was an orange top featuring a large silver star in the center, filled with smaller stars in alternating orange and silver. The effect was striking. Wanting to stay in my mom's good graces, I exaggerated my praise in front of Lily. She loved it and wanted to wear it immediately, but was told to wait. My mom then revealed my tights, 2 pairs, black and lime green. The black didn't look too bad, but lime green? I almost asked why Mom chose that color, but Julia chimed in, wait for your surprise, as she pulled out another orange top with a silver star. It's for you, Mom said. And to complete the look, Julia added, revealing a pair of lime green tights for Lily. Now you two will really be the terrible twins, she declared. At first, I was taken aback. I knew the top was a girl's item, not to mention the tights. But Lily was immediately excited and insisted we try them on, giggling with anticipation. I wanted to protest. I had kind of agreed to the tights, but nobody had mentioned girls' tops. Mom shot me a warning glare, signaling me not to disrupt the day, so when Lily urged we try them on right away, I went along with it. We raced upstairs to my room to change. Lily was a pro at putting on her tights. I took a bit longer but managed on my own. Shouldn't we wear shorts or something? I asked, glancing down at my legs encased in tights. No, Lily replied. Tights and t-shirts are perfect for indoors. She dashed downstairs to show off her new outfit, and I followed more hesitantly, aware that my mom was watching me closely, urging me to keep quiet. It was hard to ignore that I was wearing anything other than girls' clothes. To make matters worse, Julia announced that we both looked really pretty in our new outfits. I had never been called pretty before, and I didn't like it.
I could feel a sulk creeping in, but Mom was scrutinizing me, and when Lily suggested we dance along to her new CD, I joined in, partly to avoid trouble and partly because Lily's enthusiasm was contagious. We spent the whole evening singing along to CDS, picking our favorite songs and choreographing dance routines. It was such a good time. After a while, I forgot how I was dressed. It didn't seem to matter, and no one else thought there was anything wrong with what I was wearing. Nothing could spoil the evening, not even Julia's comment about us looking like twins. The next day, Mom told me to put on the black tights with an old red sweatshirt. Lily wore another one of her new tops and a denim skirt. I considered asking Mom quietly if I could wear my jeans over the tights, but when I saw how Lily was dressed, I decided I was getting off easy. The last thing I wanted was to be put in a skirt, and I worried all morning that this was yet another surprise waiting for me,